It is estimated that at least a fifth of all women will be stalked, followed or harassed at some point in their lives. Clare Bernal was just one of these women who makes up that statistic, and the details of her case are so tragic that a desperate call for reform in our awareness of stalking was made. Clare Bernal was a skincare expert who for a long time aspired to work for an expensive skincare brand. Clare completed her beauty consultancy and theatre makeup courses in Kent in the United Kingdom. She was passionate and dedicated to the field of skincare and cosmetics, and wanted nothing more than to work for a prestigious brand that aligned with her passion. She admired La Prairie, an expensive brand that produced a range of exclusive products. They had a concession in the famous Knightsbridge branch of Harvey Nichols in London. Clare wrote directly to the Harvey Nichols company outlining why she would be a perfect fit for the role and landed an interview. After careful preparation and her portfolio in hand, she travelled to London for the interview and landed her dream job to work for her favourite cosmetics brand in the famous luxury department store. In 2003, at just 20 years old, Clare Bernal moved to Dulwich in London, sharing a flat with two other roommates, to embark in an exciting new chapter in her life. She had everything set: her dream job, living in London, and a newfound enriched social life. However, just 2 years later, on the 13th of September 2005, this dream would be tragically cut short after a series of stalking and extreme harassment whereby Clare Bernal was assassinated in full public view at the hands of one man, Michael Pech. Michael Pech was a dangerous stalker who just wouldn't take no for an answer. Just FYI, I post regular true crime and real mysteries videos here, so if that sounds like it might be right up your street, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss my future videos. Also, be sure to leave a like rating so I know that you've stopped by. And just another FYI, the channel's gone through a slight rebrand in recent times, and we will now be known as the Curio Lounge. The reason for the name change is to make it more representative of the videos I like to create and share with all of you. It will be the same true crime and real mysteries videos, the same me, the same everything, just a slightly different label on the tin. My videos fit into three main categories. The first being true crime, just like this video, real mysteries, which includes missing persons and unsolved cases, and lastly, weird stories that just catch my interest in general. With all of that sorted out, let's get right into the case of the tragic murder of Clare Bernal. As mentioned, today's story takes us to one of the most glamorous and exclusive department stores in all of the United Kingdom. Founded in 1831 at its flagship store in Knightsbridge, London, it sells luxurious and exclusive designer products ranging from fashion to beauty products, as well as the finest wines and luxury foodstuffs. Harvey Nichols ranks up there alongside Harrods, Selfridges and Liberty London as one of the most prestigious and world-famous stores on some key retail high streets of London. As we've learned, Clare Bernal had her ideal job in Harvey Nichols and was living in a shared flat in London for about a year. But when one man joined the luxury store's workforce in 2004, this would all change for Clare in the worst possible way. Michael Pech was 30 years old when he met Clare Bernal. Pech was a Slovakian national who moved to London in 2003 as part of a student visa after serving in the Slovakian military. In the May of 2004, Slovakia joined the European Union, which meant that Pech could stay and work in the United Kingdom for as long as he wished. Pech actually had a wife back in Slovakia, however it was known that he was undergoing divorce proceedings at this time. In late 2004, Michael Pech secured a job as a security guard of Harvey Nichols, and of course, that was where and when he met Clare Bernal in what was to become a tragically pivotal turning point. In January 2005, Pech asked Clare Bernal out for a date, and just to place some context for the horror that unfolds in this case, Pech and Bernal went out on a total of 3 dates over a 3-week period. Although Michael was in the midst of a divorce, Clare initially enjoyed the attention but didn't see it as anything serious. She was young and really only saw the relationship, if anyone could even call it that, as just a little bit of fun. However, after one date involving just a few casual drinks, Michael confessed his love to Clare. Understandably, Clare was unsure how to handle Michael's instant obsession with her. In the coming weeks, Michael showed extreme possessiveness and jealousy and began to try and control every aspect of Clare's life. He couldn't stand her not showing him any attention, and at times even wanted to stop her spending any time with her friends or returning to Kent to spend time with her family. The chilling, obsessive behaviour from Michael Pech didn't stop there. During their very brief so-called relationship, Pech would refuse to leave Clare's flat when asked at the end of the evening. On the last occasion, Clare managed to persuade Pech to leave and offered to walk him to the station so he could catch a train home. At this point, Clare took the opportunity to tell Pech that their so-called relationship was officially over, because after receiving this news, he decided to follow Clare all the way back to her flat. He sat on the front wall of her building, shouting abuse at the building and constantly calling her mobile throughout the entire night. So desperate to speak with Clare and continue the relationship, Pech continued with this night after night. He left flowers and multiple gifts on her doorstep. However, she never accepted any of them and they all remained untouched. Clare never answered the excessive amount of calls and never accepted any of the gifts left by Pech, really sending the message home that the relationship was well and truly over. Unfortunately for Clare at this point, Michael Pech still worked with her in the Harvey Nichols store, and it was clear that she would see him on a regular basis. Although on a professional level she would be very aware of this and kept her distance as much as she could, Pech decided to use his position as a security guard in the store to follow and observe Clare as much as he possibly could. Pech would do this not only in person, but also with the use of the shop floor mirrors and in-store security cameras. Michael Pech approached Clare's counter an excessive amount of times to beg her to take him back, stating that he loved her and he knew that she loved him back. Things escalated further one day when Clare was leaving the store after her shift, when Pech physically grabbed her and pulled her to one side to say that he knew that she loved him back. Clare categorically told him that she didn't, and Pech then shouted back,
"I love you, and I know that you love me too."
It got to the point where Pech was sending Clare over 50 text messages per day. He followed her to and from work and waited out the front of her flat for hours on end. Clare rightfully ignored this attention as much as she could. However, the language Pech started to use in the text messages were some serious red flags. But Clare's good nature meant that she was reluctant to report Pech. It's likely that reporting him may make the situation worse, so Clare really was in an impossible situation. Ultimately, Clare just wanted Pech to simply leave her alone. Pech was everywhere Clare turned. There was absolutely no escape. He was outside her flat, he was always there at work, and he was following her on her every train commute. She started to fall out of love with her job. She dreaded turning up for work, and she dreaded going home. But still, Clare was not keen on reporting Pech. Clare's mother, Patricia, recalls Clare's rationale for not coming forward to authorities. This all changed after a frightening incident at a train station.
Claire phoned me up and she was crying down the phone. And she said, "Mum, I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to report him or not." And I didn't know what to do because he made it very clear, "You will report me and I'll kill you."
Pech followed Clare on the way home one evening and ended up physically assaulting her. It was at this point that Clare told Pech to stop or she would report him, only for Pech to make a verbal threat on Clare's life. Pech continued to shout abuse at Clare in full view of the commuters at the station. Despite the chilling death threat made by Pech, Clare headed straight to the head of security at Harvey Nichols the very next day and reported his harassment and abusive behaviour. A full in-store disciplinary was undertaken and Clare's complaint rightfully upheld. It was even discovered that Pech asked various Harvey Nichols staff what the maximum sentence for murder was in the United Kingdom. The Harvey Nichols store suspended Pech from his duties pending further investigation. Management at Harvey Nichols strongly recommended to Clare that she reported all of this to the police. Clare took this advice and reported Pech to the police. Further to being suspended from working at Harvey Nichols, police arrested Pech for questioning. Pech was released by police on bail with the condition that he does not make further contact with Clare. Pech was explicitly advised by the police that if he even attempts to make contact with Clare in any way, he would be arrested and face prison time. However, not only did Pech turn up at Clare's flat on multiple occasions, he also managed to track her down when she changed address and changed her telephone number. How Pech managed this was not quite clear, but what was perfectly clear is that his frightening and chilling behaviour started all over again, just when Clare was hoping to make a fresh start. Clare had no option but to report Pech to the police again, and Pech was arrested and charged with the offence of threatening to kill. It goes without saying that this was a brave move on the part of Clare in light of his chilling threats towards her. Clare took this time as an opportune moment to go away on holiday in Florence for her birthday in July 2005 with her mother Patricia. Clare and her mother had a wonderful time. It was just the thing Clare needed after the nightmare she had been through in the previous year or so. Clare and her mother Patricia felt that the system was working and this would be the very last time they would hear from Michael Pech. Meanwhile, as he was awaiting trial, Pech was released on bail again, before which time he returned to his home country of Slovakia. Whilst it's not clear for the most part what he was doing during his time back in his homeland, it is known that he spent some considerable time training at a firing range. He managed to pass some exams and obtained a firearms license. Pech then purchased a Luger handgun and registered it with the Slovakian authorities. What Pech did next was beyond comprehension. He took a coach ride to London all the way from Slovakia, a trip that would take over 24 hours, crossing multiple borders across the European continent. What nobody knew was that within his luggage, Pech had stashed his newly purchased handgun. During this entire journey spanning well over 1,000 miles, Pech was never searched, and he managed to bring the firearm to the United Kingdom completely undetected. Michael Pech, a man who had already stalked and harassed Clare Bernal to the point of arrest, was now firmly back in the United Kingdom packing a firearm and plenty of ammunition. Shortly after his return to the UK, Pech was up in court accused of harassment and making threats to kill Clare Bernal. His lawyer stressed to him that the case against him was very solid based on the mounting evidence. Under advice, Pech pleaded guilty to harassment, and incredibly, the charges of making threats to kill were dropped. Pech was again released on bail whilst the courts prepared their files for his hearing, which was due to take place in the following few months. Clare was overcome with relief as she felt that the ordeal was finally over. Everything was in place. It was now simply just a matter of time before Pech would be convicted of extreme harassment. However, all chances of such sentencing would be destroyed on the 13th of September 2005, just 2 weeks after his last court appearance. Michael Pech took a train from his home and made his way to the Harvey Nichols store on Knightsbridge. Pech entered the Harvey Nichols store in a manner that, from the outside, appeared very casual and calm. Michael Pech was armed with his new Luger handgun, whilst being high on cocaine and alcohol. He took to the shop floor and headed straight to Clare's concession counter, where she was happily working on duty. Michael Pech was armed and ready with his new Luger handgun, whilst being high on cocaine and alcohol. He took to the shop floor and headed straight for Clare's concession counter, where she was happily working on duty. Pech approached Clare right up close, and before she even knew what was occurring, he raised his gun to her head, execution style, and discharged one shot into the back of her head. Obviously, Clare then collapsed to the floor, and Pech then shot Clare 3 times in the face. It's thought that the shots to Clare's face was symbolic on the part of Pech, presumably in an attempt to disfigure her in some way. Pech then fired 2 further shots, one into the ceiling of the shop floor and a final one into his head. Witnesses made statements claiming that they thought the store had been taken over in a hold-up, but in reality, it was Michael Pech carrying out the brutal murder of Clare Bernal in a cold execution style. As staff and customers watched everything play out, the shop floor of Harvey Nichols transcended into absolute chaos and pandemonium. The authorities soon attended, and it was clear that there were 2 dead bodies laying across the shop floor. Pech had brutally murdered Clare in a public assassination before self-cancelling as a final act of just pure cowardice. In the aftermath of the horror, some serious questions were raised as to how events were able to lead up to the tragic death of Clare Bernal. Why wasn't Clare protected more? Why were the threats from Pech not taken more seriously? Why was Pech released out on bail twice after making several death threats towards Clare, when it is well established that the victim is most at risk once bail is granted to the accused? The inquest into Clare's murder revealed some shocking facts from behind the scenes. It transpired that the police officer assigned to Clare's case was undertrained and overworked, meaning that they failed to submit reports in good time, or in most cases never filed case reports at all. Amongst the missing reports was arguably one very crucial file, which included determining Michael Pech's threat level. However, at the inquest, the coroner stressed that even if the police had properly submitted a report on Pech's threat level, they would have deemed him low risk due to the absence of any previous convictions. In several statements, the coroner stressed that even if the police were on top of Clare's case, they still would not have deemed Pech as a real threat to Clare's life. On the flip side, the coroner also stressed that if the police were up to date on Clare's case, Clare's demise would never have been foreseen, and Pech would have gone on to carry out this dreadful act regardless. The trouble with this is that that Pech was arrested twice for extreme stalking and making threats to Clare's life, and then twice he was released on bail. Pech was then allowed to freely travel to Slovakia to purchase a Luger handgun, only to return to the United Kingdom with the firearm completely unchecked. Perhaps one of the most shocking aspects of this case is how easily Pech managed to bring an illegal firearm into the United Kingdom. It is obvious that Pech had devised a plan to make true on his threats with the intention to take Clare's life. Tragically, it was during Pech's bail time that Clare was convinced that her ordeal was over, and she was confident that the matter was in the hands of the authorities. At the time of her murder, Clare was going about her life with the mindset that her nightmare was truly over and that she was 100% safe. For a long time, the dangers of stalking have not been taken seriously enough, and Clare's case is just one example that has helped highlight the issue, an issue that has been sorely overlooked for many decades. And as the modern age continues to progress, especially when it comes to technology, the dangers of stalking can take more and more sinister forms. Clare's mother, Patricia, joined forces with other family members of stalking victims and set up Rejection Against Stalking, a charity organisation that recognises the harmful and grave effects of stalking on people's lives. They are committed to not only raising awareness of the danger signs for early intervention, but also supporting victims of stalking in the United Kingdom. I would urge anyone watching this to check out their website if you have even the tiniest concern that you or someone you know may be a victim of stalking. There are a wealth of resources available on their website, including advice, news, information, case studies, and educational materials. The link to their website is down below in the description box. Rejection Against Stalking even approached David Cameron, the UK Prime Minister at the time, to propose that stalking was criminalised and to make it a recognised offence. Once he reviewed their case, by 2012, Cameron agreed and the new law was passed in Parliament. The stalking theme remained strong when also in 2012, Clare's mother, Patricia Bernal, launched a claim for damages against News International, alleging that the now defunct newspaper News of the World hacked her voicemails just hours after the murder of her daughter. Patricia joined forces with other individuals such as Cherie Blair, wife of former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, and Manchester United football player Wayne Rooney. News International settled many claims against them relating to phone hacking and invasion of privacy. Patricia Bernal continues to this day to tell her daughter's story and is still determined to raise awareness about the grave dangers of stalking. I think it's vital that Clare Bernal's mother continues this campaign because time and time again we see similar cases of stalking that take sinister turns that could have been prevented with early intervention. I think it's vital that she continues her campaign because time and time again what remains is that Clare's tragic demise can help others in similar situations and potentially save lives in the future. Well, we made it to the end. Thanks again for joining me in the Curio Lounge today. Remember, I upload regular true crime videos and also ones on real mysteries and weird stories. So if that sounds like your thing, maybe think about subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave a like rating and a comment so I know that you stopped by. Anyway, that's about it. I'm off now because there's some more true crime that needs to be covered, so I'll see you.